Generally, Nick, it's your first meeting. We are live streaming on YouTube tonight. So everything can be broadcast. And, I think it's a good thing. So you're being recorded and it's accessible.
I don't know.
Wait.
Robeson Township Supervisors meeting order at 7 o'clock. We'll first do a pledge of allegiance and one silence for all military personnel.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yes, present.
Here.
Here. All right. Any citizens' concerns this evening? Then correspondence again, we had that in the meeting on Thursday, and Richard said if there's any ideas, so I bring that on. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Community Board Presidents. I handled most of my business last Thursday. I just wanted to discuss something that was on the police report. Value property stolen was about $6,900 last month, due to the month of May. Out of that, 1,000 of it was a stolen vehicle that was recovered. Okay, we did recover that and filed charges. The remaining was actually what has been on the news, and you see it locally, the porch pirates, where they're stealing cell phones, iPads, things like that. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that majority of that theft is exactly what it was from porch pirates. Just like to keep you in a loop of what's going on. And other than that, just like to say thank you to the board. As you're aware, this is my last meeting, and bittersweet, obviously. But I spent a long time here, and I'm thankful to the board and all the residents, and residents that are here, the residents on YouTube, and it's been an honor to serve the community.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Good luck.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chief.
Thank you.
Does this mean you can still hate your job and come back?
Don't jinx me.
Just being honest. Everything's not always what you think.
All right, anything else, Chief?
That's all I have.
All right, Rich.
All right, the finance reports, so you have your monthly expenses, treasurer report, and sort agent report for approval. Is your impact of the workshop?
Make a motion to approve the monthly expenses.
I make a motion that we approve the monthly expenses.
I'll second. I'll call Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin.
Vote no.
Yes. Anyone like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer report.
I'll second it.
I'll call Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin.
Vote no.
Yes. And anyone like to make a motion to approve the sewer agent report?
That report again is missing information and again seems to be a struggle. I don't understand that. I just don't understand.
How can you
Well, there was
possibly
no
know?
As I explained to the RTMA board last night, sir, those 4 reports that are, they're not missing from the report this time. They're not 120 days at this point. Those were all accounts that were turned back on. We given them the opportunity to pay those accounts in full up to the 120 days. Once that 120-day marks, they'll then be put on the sewer agent report, and or if that would push them over the top and into a
The
situation where they're
report is
unable-
not accurate and is not complete. This has been a struggle for years.
How are you so accurate on this? How do you know so much about it?
Last night, there was some discussions and there's some corrections and
And Attorney London will be looking into the rest of those reports that we discussed yesterday evening, sir, that have some disconnects with them, shall we say. We don't know
Well, you
why
use
they're
the
there.
term disconnect, and I use a different term.
Yeah, an abusive one as usual.
Excuse me, Joy, what was that?
I said an abusive one, you're never polite or civil to people.
7:04, let's not start already, so. And then I would like to make a motion to approve the sewer agent report that's in our possession.
That's in our possession, but we're aware that it needs correction from the RTMA, correct?
Yeah.
That's the way I'm putting it.
Alright, I'll say roll call, Mrs. Joy,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Vote no.
and I'll vote yes. Alright, Rich?
Okay, I'd hope to have some more information, Muni Links, PAM's comparison this evening. What we wanted to do is reach out for some additional quotes. One aligned with Muni Links, which is a web-based program, and PAM's, which is an outsourced program. We're still awaiting quotes from two companies. One of them is that Dallas company that has done it, I believe, for us in the past, and then we have one we're looking into. So when we have those, we'll need to debrief that in July before the Supervisors workshop. I will have a letter to our wing and shot tomorrow, and that will be used by right for recreation only as approved by the board at the workshop. That letter will go out to them. As we know, we've already covered C. The New Morgan Robeson intermunicipal agreement, again, I believe we're on the right track. I think they understand that we do not require one at this time. We have been in touch with Ashley Whittingham. I hope to hear from her this afternoon. We did not. So we will touch base with her again tomorrow afternoon and try to get that ball rolling. And I would say we need to probably discuss it later in the week if we have not heard back to take her, just move the ball forward for ourselves at that point. She was waiting to hear some information back from their solicitor. The agreement is that if there's an issue with the solicitor, we'll put him solicitor to solicitor and see if we can't work it out without the intermunicipal agreement. Agreement holds approval to sign Pump and Hall. Again, that was approved at the workshop. Our vice chair has signed that based on our chair's declination of interest in that case, or in that Pump and Hall agreement, because he has a financial interest there. Park and Rec open space fee discussion. Sir, you asked me to look into that. I'm not exactly sure what you were looking for. I did look into Park and Rec open space fees. I looked back and I looked at the following information. Both the open space recreation plan, I also looked at the municipality's planning code. I see there's a 3-year time limit on expending those funds. There are some calculations in here, which again, in part of my research, I found those calculations are fairly substantially out of date at this point in time. These were based on 1991. That's person per household, value per acre, and some other calculations. And the amount of acreage per 1,000 residents has gone up from 9.5 to 10.6 over that time. Yes,
What I asked for was a breakdown as to the composition of that account. I'm familiar with the open place, so
Okay.
are there 10 contributors to that account? Where did those funds come from? That's what I asked.
You're
them.
worried about where your money went, why don't you just admit the facts?
So, sir, as of right now, I can only tell you that as of 2019, September 2017, the funds are transferred in from VIST. Of course, they're not going back to VIST. At that point in time, there's a record of the deposits and the expenditures in here, as well as information with one reimbursement to the general account.
Can I take a peek at that?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Rich, I do want to make one correction. The MPC was actually amended in 2014 to remove the time limit of 3 years
Okay.
requiring the municipality to spend that money. So there is no time limit now to spend that money, so
Okay.
long as it's used for the proper
Park and
purpose
Rec.
of
Okay.
park.
And that was 2014.
2014.
Okay, so that's predates our moving that from our one account to the other. I appreciate that. That
Is
still
there,
shows up in the
is
MPC.
there an update in terms of notifying the contributors of that account? Was there any changes to that?
I don't know, frankly. I believe the rest of that provision, 50311, remain the same, but I'm happy to look.
to comment if are you done your report or no?
With that, yes, sir, unless there's anything else you were looking for.
The wing and shot isn't a letter from you, it would be, I believe, a zoning permit.
Well, in speaking with the zoning office, they weren't sure how they could issue a permit for that. The letter, I talked to Attorney London this afternoon, and the letter seemed appropriate for this particular case, so that they could obtain their permit. Their permit would actually come then from the Pennsylvania Game Commission and DCNR. That's what would be put with our record. And the letter is just confirming
What
what
were the comments from our code department, our code man, what did he have to say? Why wouldn't he issue a permit?
Sure, I believe it would be a use by right. I'm not sure the permit would be appropriate in that
Well,
particular
There are a
situation.
lot of uses by right where you typically get a zoning approval.
This is
Some kind
because,
of permit other than a letter.
this was because DCNR and the Game Commission are the ones actually in charge of this. They supersede us as far as allowing it. We had to allow rights by use because this is private. They are not doing it for money. So it isn't to make money, and that was the biggest issue. That's where it comes into play.
It's whatever the letter Joan had said about, because it was not commercial use.
Right, it's not commercial use.
That doesn't matter, I believe it still needs a zoning permit.
Well, why don't you take your dog out there and go hunt with them and figure it out that way instead of just complaining?
We approved it on Thursday, so I
Yes.
just clarified with Joan what we need, and if she thought we just needed that letter, and then it goes to the Game Commission, they get what they need,
Right.
they follow all the state laws and Game Commission laws and have it
The
posted.
Game Commission is one issue, I'm familiar with that permitting process. Our zoning is autonomous to us, and there can be a number of permitted uses. So I believe.
I guess the question becomes, does the township have the practice of issuing zoning permits for recreational uses?
Do they have
No.
do they have a history of issuing for any use, is a better question in my opinion.
No. Specific for recreational is completely different, and they already did have one from here previously, if you paid any attention to what was
So
said.
Rich, just
I'll confirm, yes, sir.
I think that was already confirmed,
it
Chris.
was for this.
It
one.
was, but somebody doesn't listen.
And you get registered at the junkyard license there.
I have two junkyard licenses here for signature this evening. One of them has paid, the other one we'll hold on to. We'll sign it this evening if we can. And we just wait for their payment to come in before we actually issue it to them. And that'll be in signature file.
Thank you.
I can make a motion to approve the annual junkyard licenses, and holding the one that is not the rest of them.
I'll make the motion to approve the junkyard licenses with the exception of the one that has not given us the money.
Okay, second, roll call, Mr. Joy,
Yes,
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Bitler.
Yes.
Not vote yes. Is actually able to hear from the
no, I don't think so. I don't see either.
Alright. And then, in our packet is the minutes, expenses and reports. If anyone would like to make a motion to accept the minutes, expenses and reports that are in our possession.
I've made the comment before that I don't believe the minutes are providing enough detail.
Okay, I'll make the motion to accept the minutes, expenses, and reports in our possession.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Roll call, Mrs. Joy.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Mr. Bitler.
I don't know.
No, vote yes. Alright, so Ryan Lee.
Good evening, board. Following up on our items from the workshop. The first item that I have for you is a NPC time extension request. This is from Cedar Hill Estates. I know that there was discussion regarding the progress that's been made with this project, and I certainly understand and this a large degree mirror the board's concern. I did reach out to the engineer. He was on vacation from our workshop through now. So I wasn't able to speak with him directly. At this point, we do have this request before the board. In the past, we have asked that they come in and give us an update. Again, I did review that with the planning commission. They didn't feel that that was necessary for them. If it's necessary for you to continue the process, I would certainly encourage you to allow me to ask them to come in and speak with you. At any rate, we do have a plan that will expire before we meet again. So at a minimum, I would ask that we extend this to the next meeting, so that we can keep this process going.
I'll extend it to the next meeting, I'll vote to do that, but I think we need to have them come in, because a couple years ago when I was on the board, we just extended and extended and extended, and nothing ever got done. So the level of frustration, if you're gonna let your stuff expire, as a builder, you can go back and you can go through the whole hoops again and pay the township again.
And I understand that, and with this project, I tend to agree with you.
Oh, yeah, it's been going on, what, 8 years, at least?
Oh, at least, yeah.
At least, I think more than that.
I think that, now there's been some extenuating circumstances as well. You know, they did have a death and what have you, so. The other thing that I will say along those lines though is, I do feel as though we are seeing more of these extensions because of the extent of outside agency permitting that's now required. To the point where I know Rich can speak to this as well. The planning commission sometimes sees what I'll call stale submissions with very little progress, you know what I mean? We have one before the planning commission right now where, quite frankly, it's not progressing on the design phase. And I've grown frustrated with the applicant's engineer. Their applicant sits here and says, when am I gonna get a building permit? Well, as soon as you finish your design and get us a decent plan, we'll get you, we'll get you moving through the process. So there's a double-edged sword here, but this one has been sitting for quite some time, as we discuss every time this comes up.
Well, and that's why I said, I will make a motion to extend it for them to come to the next meeting and explain to us what's been done. Because otherwise, this just extend, and you do nothing for years.
Try to get them to the workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, if that's the case, why wasn't this board take that approach, on the large issue on 568? That lingered from when I was on the board 20 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, so.
We did, because
what
I
was
sat on
that?
the board and said, enough, stop with these MPC time extensions. If you're not gonna do what you're gonna do, then let it expire and you can pay the township again. If you wanna go back and look at those minutes, maybe that occurred after you were on the board, Mr. Bittler, because you were a developer. So
Alright, so we have a motion and a second for that.
I asked the question as to why the board
we already
didn't
made
do
a
that.
motion, go away.
That's just a simple question, Chris. You were on that board.
So was
I guess
I.
you've been abstaining from those votes for whatever reason. But I don't see any difference in terms of the progress from one or the other.
Well,
Going
Yeah.
forward, what are we going to do?
That one, they
This is
were doing
years.
stuff, but then they were coming to meetings all the time, there was special meetings, there was joint meetings.
Yeah.
They were doing stuff all the time, and then insisting they were ready for this, that, and the other thing, and then it kept going, and then something else changed, and then this thing wasn't done, and
There were a lot of issues with
there
that
were a
one.
lot of citizens that come from Greenville's
There'll
Lake.
be a lot of interesting issues moving forward, for sure.
So we have a motion, roll call, Mrs. Joy,
Yes,
Mr. Rhodes,
Yeah.
Mr. Bittler,
I'll vote yes.
I'll vote yes.
I will seek their attendance for your workshop meeting. Next item that I have deals with our maintenance contract. If you recall, I asked the board's permission to process a payment application for tonight's meeting. I did email that out to you after our workshop. I passed copies out to you now. I have 3 copies for the chairman's signature. This is progress payment application number 1 for our oil and chip project. The project is substantially complete. The oil and chip has been placed. It's been swept. I did not check to see if the lines were down, but that is not in this payment application. So Barry and I will coordinate that and get back to you for a final payment. This payment reflects outstanding items and a retainage of $13,675 for payment application number 1 in the amount of $221,119.40.
I'll vote for tonight, Bear.
So you would like a motion for the
Please, payment application number 1.
payment application 1 for $221,199.04. Motion for that.
Yep.
So, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it,
Roll call, Mr. Joy,
yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Bittler,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item is for our construction, our paving contract. We did open bids. We discussed these at the workshop meeting. Again, there was a base bid which included Proudfoot Mounts in its totality, and Hopewell Road. There was an alternate 1, which removed New Morgan's section of Mounts Road. And then there was an alternate 2, which removed Hopewell from the contract. After looking at the remaining budget with Barry and Sheila, we do feel as though we can fit all of our work, which would be either the base bid or alternate bid 1, essentially to Robeson Township. They're the same scope of work. The only difference between them would be New Morgan's section of Mounts Road. And still have plenty in the budget, roughly $133,397.08 for Barry and our internal team to continue work that they have planned. So I don't know how we want to handle this evening. We had hoped to hear back from New Morgan in advance of this. I will say that to Robeson Township, either the base bid, the $459,967.35, or alternate bid 1, which is $411,257.20, are the same out of pocket to us. The difference again is that $45,000 and change that belongs to New Morgan Borough. Our contract is written so that we can accommodate that work, provide mill joints. Yes, you'd have New Morgan section not paved, but I do believe that you could make a motion to award that full scope of work, and then should New Morgan elect not to participate, you could recommend an alternate award of alternate bid 1, which would be the same to us. Does that make sense, Rich? Did we cover that? Questions?
Alternate bid 1, is that what we're calling it?
Well, we're calling, my recommendation would be that the board make a motion to award the base bid, which is the total contract value. However, if New Morgan Borough elects not to participate, you would award alternate bid 1.
No, then you have to make that motion.
Let me just quickly revise that motion. I would just make a motion of a notice of intent to award that bid, contingent upon compliance with the RFP, the submission of all the required documents and signing of a contract. In the event that you said New Morgan does not want to take that contract, then it would be awarded a notice of intent to award to alternate 1 with the same conditions.
Okay, I will make that motion, but I'm following what you said.
We have a motion, and we have a second.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, Mr. Joy, Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Baylor,
Yes.
I vote yes.
When's the start date for Proudfoot?
We don't have that yet.
What's the earliest?
It would be 15 days from when we issued the notice of award. So before that, you folks would have to sign, I'd have to get signed contracts. We are probably earliest, Mr. Biller, we'd be 25 days out.
25 days?
Yeah,
Mid to late July, depending on the fact.
and that's a very tricky road to pave. Just on a side note, when you drive that road, you will notice bituminous curbing, you'll notice some drainage situations that have been handled in the past. So that's going to be a in-depth walkthrough between Barry, myself, and the contractor to make sure that we get what we expect at the end of that.
Well, hopefully there's some opportunity to correct some of those problems that we're aware of.
We will address all of them that I believe we can. And again, it's gonna be, it's not an easy job, it's gonna be labor intensive, and I made that clear if you read the contract to the contractors that, the expectation is you will have the proper manpower to handle that handwork that's associated with that street in particular.
There's gonna be a lot of it.
Yes. That's all I have for you this evening, unless there's any other questions.
Great.
Which one? So right now, the situation with Rock Hollow is that the electric company has agreed not to relocate, but to de-energize during construction.
Okay.
So that is being vetted between our engineer Whitman and and the other utilities to make sure everybody else is clear. I think we're getting close to the end of the line there. And Old River Road, we had the meeting previously. There was an email that came out confirming meeting minutes from the county, I believe. And so that's in process. That's gonna be a long way to go.
Trust me, everybody was happy to hear that the one on Rock Hollow isn't gonna get drunk out of Spanish that one,
This
so
is, it'll get done much sooner.
they were happy.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. You're Colin.
McFarland. So, let me introduce myself quickly. Colin McFarland, Cops Officer, been practicing law for 5 years for a firm, and happy to be here and be working with all of you.
Thank you.
I have a couple of matters for you tonight. First, Joan has prepared an update to the speed limit ordinance pursuant to your discussion at the workshop meeting. And so I recommend a motion to authorize the advertisement of that ordinance in the Reegular for potential enactment at the general business meeting during July.
Chief, now, did you see that?
Yeah,
Now, when did that come in?
So after this morning?
Did we see it?
No,
Yeah.
it's in the packet, and it came in last week.
I was gonna
I have
say,
to
just,
look at the date.
yeah, I was gonna say, it just came in.
Oh, solicitation order.
If the board,
The solicitation order is one that came in today,
Yes, okay.
and so that is not included tonight because it would not meet the agenda requirements, which is
Right.
24 hours.
with the traffic limits though, the only thing from the one that's in the packet, the T number needs to be corrected.
which we had updated before.
Get updated, it's T361,
T811, that's what it's.
It's T361.
Yes, that's correct.
Was there any other corrections you would have had, chief?
no, that was the only one.
Anybody else? I have. Motion for advertisements.
I'll make a motion to advertise the ordinance, it's gonna be T361, to authorize it to be advertised in the Reegular. As soon as possible.
You get a better bang for our buck, would we not, if we were to not advertise that with the solicitation, let's assume we get that order in order till next month.
It'd probably be a little less money
Couple
to
dollars.
do it together, but you ultimately still need to advertise both titles and summaries, so the cost savings is probably not nominal. But that's an option if you want to save a few months, we can wait, certainly.
Still have a motion, so.
Traffic.
Yeah, which is a problem, and it's definitely gonna interfere with people, so I would say,
Well, you made the motion, so you have to.
second the motion right
Roll call, Mr. Troy. Mr. Rose.
here. Yes.
Mr. Bittler.
Yes.
I vote yes.
And then as Rich mentioned, we had provided the updated solicitation ordinance for discussion at next month's meeting.
And that was sent to all of you this afternoon, you should see it.
I think it was close.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Before we move on, did I understand this London correctly, that you will be attending the workshops, but she'll be attending the regular meetings?
Correct, although I will not be able to attend next month's workshop meeting because I'm on vacation. And I wasn't able to attend the one last week because I was sick. But moving forward, outside of July, I should be available for all the workshop meetings for the rest of the year.
Well, my objection to that was, and is, that we've had a history of, I think, a more efficient way of doing it, of having the same one. That's not a personal comment. It's just, I don't think that was well represented to this board, and I don't think the board is doing right by the community. I also said that the appointment of your firm creates the actual conflict with our municipal authority. Now, I understood that your firm was going to have you resign from the zoning hearing board. Has that occurred? In writing?
I'm happy to submit that resignation. Obviously, we can't represent the zoning hearing board, we represent the township. But that does beg the question, when will the township be appointing an interim zoning hearing board solicitor? Because there does need to be a hearing held on a matter by August 9th. So that is something that I would like the township to do at its next
What's the
meeting.
zoning hearing board
I-
say about this?
And that's,
So I've reached out to them and recommended they have their regularly scheduled meeting to discuss that matter and then approve it, because we'll need to come back before you, the supervisors. Essentially, don't want to pay.
Again, I am happy to tender that resignation, but it's also done by operational law because the MPC prohibits my representation of the zoning hearing board when I'm representing the
And the
township.
zoning hearing board was already informed that
When's their next meeting?
Mr. Orlando had resigned from this board, from the board of supervisors, and he would be happy to sit on the other board.
July 25th, assuming that,
There's none of these.
yeah, June 27th.
The next week.
well, I think that my understanding of your representation of this board, I as a member of this board, I've not heard anything, negative. I've raised concerns with the actual real conflict of interest. Has your firm been involved with, or has this board appointed conflicts counsel as it relates to our sewer authority? Ms. London represents both the lessor and the lessee in that transaction. So
You haven't had a
we
meeting yet, have
have
you?
we've not appointed any kind of conflicts counsel, and
Jill last night said that she's makes sense to do that, and she said she hasn't touched that lease since this has been discussed, so that's why she didn't recommend a conflicts counsel last evening.
that lease is actually expired in 2021. We are so far behind, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm making an observation that this board, as well as the authority, is not on its game. You have a lease that expires in 2021 and no sense of urgency, and if you read the proposal, you're asking for this board to retroactively approve stuff that's continuing. I think it's unnecessary, I think it's sloppy. I think when with the appointment of your firm, it's created just problems, it's problematic. When we are that sloppy that we say on our request for proposal, scheduled workshop meeting the second Tuesday of the month, and regularly scheduled meeting on the third Tuesday of the month. This township is sloppy, we can't even get the request for proposals correct. So it's not a personal issue with you or Ms. London or your firm's been around a long time.
And they
It's
seem
just,
to be
it's
very
very,
ethical.
very, very disappointing here, folks.
They're very ethical, so stop trying to slam it.
Yeah, so anything else?
No, I agree, it's a concern, it's one we have to, watch out for, and to the extent that conflicts arise, we obviously have to bow out.
You'll address it.
No one says, sir, that you legally can't do that. What I'm saying is that this board shouldn't have done that. It's not your decision, it's not your firm's decision,
Understood.
it's this board's decision. We've had a history where townships and solicitors represent board members individually, that's occurred here.
You
Your
just wanna
firm
keep
represents
whining.
a supervisor.
Fiddler,
Your
chill.
former, I have the floor, Ms. Bridenstine. Our former solicitor represents now an estate of a deceased supervisor.
And what do you,
I have the floor, Ms.
what do
Bridenstine.
you do?
Can't you ever keep your mouth closed for 1 second and listen?
No,
If you had
because
2 ears and could listen, you'd be further along.
how can
You
you
could,
possibly?
if you just would listen,
Alright,
you just don't listen.
No, because
So
you lecture
there's
like
an
a report.
appearance, in my opinion, there's an appearance that should have been avoided by our board and could have been avoided. We had tons of candidates and we actually had some that were not even given a chance.
alright,
So it's not a personal issue.
alright.
Yeah, it is.
It's business, and we don't run the business of this township like a business.
Well, we won't go into how you run your business, so.
So, Public Works, Rich, do you have anything for Public?
Nothing,
Works?
nothing further update from last week. Parks and Recreation, to follow that, the first 3 motions we approved the workshop. I want to just move down to E on here. As mentioned, we want to make sure we're doing these things the right way. So we'll have the Eagle Scout 34. So I want to let you know, I reached out to the Scout leader. After some discussion, they're in Ohio Pile this week, which is why the Scout was not able to make it this evening, so that's on a Scout trip. In the July meetings, he's had a National Advanced Youth Leadership Experience at the Summit, West Virginia. It's an absolutely great experience for our Scout leaders. young scout leader, so he'll be down there, he's actually a troop guide, and then the following week he's at camp. So what I'd recommend, if we would be willing to consider this, is to have the leader speak on his behalf in July, and then to have the scout come before this board for a final approval in August. I believe he'll be available 8 August for the workshop. So that way, when he gets back from camp, he can start working on the project as soon as he
Fine
can.
by me.
Do you understand having him come before
I do,
the
sir.
board, and that's not what you intended to do before, but going forward, you're not gonna do that?
That's correct, sir.
And I think it's okay if the leader comes.
Yeah, really, it's not a big deal, although it needs to be
And then
made.
he comes in August, that's fine. So, schedule it.
Yep, I'm good with it.
No further updates from the EAC, and
Oh, just an FYI for the EAC, I've got enough cardboard from the garage to probably do a size of this room. So I don't know anybody needs cardboard because our boxes are like huge.
I did see that
So
to the
we're,
board, so I believe they'll probably reach out to you, take
I was
that on
gonna say,
that
I
on.
just wanna know where I can start storing them because I don't have room.
I may be able to store some of that in the back of the township or the
Hey.
workshop area.
Whatever. All over the board.
They new or old, or we wanna go executive to
Yeah,
discuss.
I was gonna say,
legal
our old
issues.
business, whatever happened to our newsletter? Because
Right.
that would be so beneficial at this point for things that are complaints or issues or problems or overstated crises, you know, at least it would be useful. Can you make sure you get us some for the next meeting?
So a couple of things, I'll resend those items out to the board, and if they'd like me to move that back in the manager session for July, I'd be more than happy to do so.
I think it would be beneficial to the community. Everybody doesn't have iPads, tablets, phones, whatever, so it would be a help to them.
Where's the request for proposal under old business for a police chief replacement? Where's that document?
I have just started working on that, sir, at this point in time.
Do you have a completion date? I mean, this man's leaving Friday.
9th of August. What's your last day, Dennis?
Yeah, last day here, reporting for duties this Friday,
But
and
the
then
last
my
day,
retirement date is August 9th.
right, so it's not till August
The
9th.
OIC in place, so may I recommend to the board that, either for the July workshop and or for the July regular meeting, we have that in place? Is that-
Yeah.
You should be able to send us drafts of that in advance, should you not?
Okay, sir.
What's the earliest you can get us that? What I
Don't-
what
don't-
I
don't cut
want
yourself
is a-
short
What I
just
don't
so
want
he
is a
shuts up.
repeat performance.
You're a repeat
What I don't want
performance.
is a repeat performance of the solicitor.
You want everything your way.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
We need those motions on.
Yeah, exactly, but again, one of us doesn't
What are
pay
we talking
attention.
about, Chris? I couldn't hear it.
You
Well,
don't-
two things, there were two things, that we made, you had made the motion on Thursday
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
advertising
well,
and stuff.
why
Yeah.
isn't that ready? It's not that hard to, we know what his salary is, we know what his job description, why isn't that ready tonight?
Do you
We
ever
did say
stop
July.
complaining? Yes, we agreed to July.
I didn't expect it tonight, but.
No,
because
we
it-
We
said
could have had at
July.
least a working draft tonight. There's just
I know,
no,
Everybody's
Chief
busting
said
their
that-
butt in
Chief-
case you forget that
Chief
we have
said he would
employees
help
who work
Rich with it
hard.
and come up with a template and.
Yeah, I thought we were getting it July.
Yeah, we all thought, I guess you just didn't pay attention. Maybe you should go back and rewatch your YouTube video. Then you get it straight.
Anything else?
so we can't get it before July.
No, July is when we agreed
Oh, you
on,
get it in
voted
email.
on it, get over
You
it.
can get an email, I'll just send the agenda for July.
Yeah, so,
So when can we get the email?
in July,
No, whenever he gets it done.
yeah,
Well,
July.
when you ever use the term whenever,
Well,
July.
whenever you take your medicine, it doesn't work that way.
you know, how about
We're
you
not
just
taking
turn to Rich
medicine.
and ask him when he thinks he can get it done.
July. So if it's done
What's the earliest you
sometime
can
in
get
July.
this done?
And don't short yourself just so is being quiet. If you can't do it till July, don't do it till July. His hissy fit can wait.
Okay, we'll take a quick look here.
Considering it
I'd
works for
say,
you.
to make sure it's done correctly, sir, and to make sure that I've double checked it, not only that, I've already talked to Dennis, he and I have talked a couple times about, touching base even after he leaves, that we'd be willing to work through that. He sent me a couple of examples, some good ones for an RFP, because we didn't do that.
Can you share
So I'd
those,
say-
can you share those examples with the board?
I believe I can send those.
Absolutely.
Okay, I believe I can send those, yes, sir.
But that's not.
I would
gonna
say
be
to make sure we
done.
had a good solid piece in place, you know, the morning of the 7th of July would work.
I have a question,
That gives me
guys.
time to make sure it's done well.
If if the chief is gonna be working with you through this, why do you wanna give us an RFP with examples so that it can be picked apart by one of us to determine which one we should use? I think you should keep them till you have your complete draft ready for us. That's the
That's
chief,
frankly dumb.
yeah, well,
That's just dumb.
well, you're completely
Let's see
clueless,
the
so we're
information
even.
our manager's evaluating, let's see what our
No.
Shalit's done, maybe we
No.
can add to that. You really have a problem, you really
Yes,
do.
because you wanna rip apart what everyone
No,
does.
I would like to see
And
an
you're
efficiently
critical.
run organization and stop the charade and gameplay.
You're
I'm still
good at
waiting-
playing games.
I'm still waiting for my colleague to answer, maybe we'll do it in executive session, I don't know that it's proper. Why would we not go outside and look at all the possible candidates?
You already whined that we have to do that to make it happen.
You don't have to do anything, I would imagine, you should do it, when I ask why you don't, I don't get an answer.
Because we have
Why,
good
Jeff? Why, Jeff?
employees
I'm
within
asking
the
again,
department.
why would we not wanna do that?
Dennis, would you like to answer
Yeah.
that? No, listen
I'll
to
let-
the chief.
listen-
I'll
listen to
answer it,
Jeff.
I'll answer it, but don't cut me
Well,
off,
let the chief-
let me finish.
Well, I think you better talk to her.
Okay.
Mr. Rhodes is gonna answer.
This is my opinion, okay? I've been managing hundreds of employees for 15, 20 years, right? I always promote from within. That's how I've always done it. Managers get promoted from within. You bring an outside person in and you have 15, 20 employees leave because they don't like the person. You have somebody that's already on your staff that everybody gets along and likes, you promote from within.
And respects.
That's my reason why. I've been doing it a long time. That's my opinion, that's my process, that's what I like.
Don't they also have more respect for the person within because they've already been through the workflow and the way it's
And I don't think it's,
processed?
in my opinion, Mr. Rhodes, and thank you for that, in my opinion, I would never always limit myself to always. I don't know that Background Checks Act 47, I don't know that that's proper, but in the best interest of the overall community, it doesn't hurt to look. So,
I
you
don't
know,
disagree with the look, I'm just saying, like,
it-
my
it-
process,
it
that's
doesn't
why
hurt
I
to
voted
look,
no.
but that was the same, we're playing the same charade we did as a solicitor. It's
No,
the same
we're
thing
not.
that's happening.
We're gonna go into executive session at 7:41, and then we'll discuss legal issues. The main topic in there is what we discussed about Robeson Township, so.
For those who didn't hear that, my secretary, I'm sorry, Jennifer will silence the, under protest, the audio streaming. The legal matter is a lawsuit I filed against the township to protect your constitutional rights.
Which we'll have to pay for as a community, by the way.
Am I-
If you
Runs when we get that.
look at the,
Yeah.
the medicine that you need to put out with that, you have to need a veterinarian. to
That
come
person's
and look
really
at
signed
it,
that, fine.
so he can give you a
Yes.
prescription, catch your mice.
Whenever you have a drop dead time, hard time,
I think
you know,
it's warm.
I understand them all too well.
Yeah, these bills that they have is 64 pages of all kinds of niche shit stuff.
Okay, we will go back into regular session at 8:10. As mentioned before, the regular session, we talked about legal issues of Reegular versus Robeson Township. On our agenda, there's just post-meeting side bills and stuff, so if there's no other items. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:11?
Certainly, I make the motion to adjourn at 8:11.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.